But the problem is, again, it's not the technology or the AI is bad or is evil, the problem is we've been living only on one side of the collective. So the technology side has been growing very fast, exponentially, whereas the wisdom side or the spiritual side has not been growing as fast as the technology side. Hello everyone, this is Kevlan, and here we talk about science, esoteric teaching, and also share my perspective to help you expand your perspective, to help you expand your mindset and your knowledge so that you can have a better understanding of who you are and a better understanding of the reality we live in. In today's video, I wanted to talk about technology and AI in particular, because I see a lot of people out there, even in my circle, I see people kind of freaking out about technology, about AI, about where we're going as a collective. And I just wanted to share my perspective of what I think about technology, what I think about AI, and what I think may happen in the future as a collective. So to start, I wanted to say that technology in itself is neutral. So it's not bad, it's not good, it's just neutral. It's not the technology in itself, even the AI in itself, is how it's going to be used. The problem is when we look at the world and when we look at the collective, the collective consciousness for the last centuries, we've been living not in a balanced way. I always say, we live in a polarity where there is, in a polarity world where there is two sides of the same coin, or a duality type of world, type of reality with two sides of the same coin. But the problem is, for generations and generations, we've been living in only one side of the coin, meaning that when you look at the world and the collective, we've been living in the patriarchal society. And what I mean by patriarchal society is that when we look at ourselves, we have two sides or two aspects. There is a lower aspect, and when I say the lower, I don't mean in a bad way or in not as good way. What I mean by lower, I'm talking about frequency. There is a lower aspect of who we are, a lower frequency, and the lower aspect is basically attached to the three energy centers that we have. They are attached to our physicality, our physical body. They are attached to the earth, to the reality as we see, and the seat of identity. So it's really the lower aspect, or the ego is really attached to that lower aspect of who we are. And then there is the higher aspect of who we are, attached to the three higher centers of who we are, which is connected to heaven or to the sky, which is connected to our feminine aspect of who we are, the spiritual aspect, the energy aspect of who we are. For generations and generations, we've been living in only one aspect, which is the lower aspect. And the reason is because the heart, which is basically the bridge between, and is the center point between the lower and the higher. We have 7 energy centers, and 3 are located in the lower, 3 are located in the higher, and 1 is in the middle, which is basically the heart center. And the heart center is really the bridge between the higher and the lower. It's where the energy has to flow from the lower to get to the higher. But the problem is, this energy center has been a target for generations and generations in order to close it off. And when this center is closed, so when our heart space is closed, what happens? The energy stays in the lower and they can't really go to the higher. So we live our life associated to survival, and we live our life only on one side of the coin, which is the lower aspect of who we are. And again, when I say the lower aspect, I don't mean in a bad way compared to the higher. It's just in terms of frequency. So it's not one is good, one is bad. Both sides of who we are necessary to live a full and integrated and connected life in this realm. When I look at the heart space, it's the center of Christ consciousness. A lot of people are talking about the Christ consciousness, and Christ consciousness to me is attached to the heart space, and it's basically the center between the higher and the lower. So this is where the union between the higher and the lower can happen. There is this merge between the higher and the lower. This is where we can fully integrate the higher into the lower, into the middle point, the heart space, and we can live our life in a balanced way from a neutral point. We don't live our life only on the lower side of who we are, which is only one side of the coin, or only on the higher side of who we are, which is another side of the other side of the coin. We live it fully integrated both, and we integrate both sides of the coin, and we leave it from a neutral point, which is basically the heart space. So when we look at society and when we look at the collective reality and collective consciousness for generations and generations, we've been living our life only in the lower centers. So that's what we've been seeing around the world, lots of war, comparison, survival. It's all about ego because we identify ourselves with only the lower because the higher is close. So we don't, as a collective, we don't really have access to it. It's really, the energy doesn't flow there. So the lower is connected to the masculine side of who we are. Is connected to the anchor into the earth. It's really the masculine side, the action where things can happen in this realm. So that's why we've been living a patriarchal society, is because we've been living in the lower centers for generations and generations. So again, we've only been living in one side of the coin, in one side of who we are, without integrating the other side. And as a result of this, when we only live our life as a collective, only from one side of the coin, then things cannot be used properly. So when we look at technology, which is attached to, again, to the lower side of who we are, because it's something tangible, it's something attached to this realm. So when we look at technology, there are two sides. There is technology, which is basically the technical, tangible tools that we can use in this realm. And then there's wisdom attached to it, that we can use this tool in an integrated way, so that by using a wisdom, so that it can be used for the betterment of the collective. But the problem is, again, it's not the technology or the AI is bad or is evil, the problem is we've been living only on one side of the collective. So the technology side has been growing very fast, exponentially, whereas the wisdom side or the spiritual side has not been growing as fast as the technology side. So now everything is in balance, and when everything is in balance, it's not going to work for the betterment of the collective. So when I look at the world and AI, I don't think AI is bad. I don't think AI is evil. I think AI can just be used as a tool. It's just a way we're going to be using it as a collective that will determine whether AI will be good or bad. But AI in itself is not bad to me. Like, AI can be used and can be, if we can fully integrate our lower and higher and use AI as an expression of our divine side or wisdom, then AI could do fantastic stuff in this reality. So that's, to me, what we're dealing with right now. And obviously, for the last decades, and especially the last 5-6 years, there is an acceleration of the collective consciousness that is expanding, and the frequency is expanding, the frequency is growing, is increasing. And what it means is we live a time of the collective where it's a lot of stuff are emerging or surfacing at the individual level, but which is going to be expressed at the collective level for us to address. All the traumas, all the experiences, all the conditionings, all the knowledge that has closed off the heart space now needs to be addressed, so that the heart space can be open again. And when the heart space can be open again, the energy can start accessing the higher centers of who we are. And again, some people are talking about, we've been living in the patriarchal societies for generations and generations, and now we have the rise of the divine feminine, or the higher self, or the higher aspect of who we are, the higher centers of who we are, which is attached to the feminine side of who we are. And again, I don't mean it, again, because when I say higher and lower, it can be interpreted in a different way, but higher doesn't mean better. Higher just doesn't mean higher frequencies, that's all it means. But what I want to say is, going to the other side of the pendulum and just living our life in the higher will not be balanced again. We'll just be on the other side of the pendulum, and will not be balanced. So going through from a patriarchal society to a matriarchal society is not going to help the problem. We're just going to be from one thing, swing of the pendulum to the other swing of the pendulum. Or the answer is in the middle, is the integration of both, is the union of both in the center, so that we can live a balance, life, and have a balanced society, a balanced collective consciousness. So right now we are currently living that era where the frequency of the collective is increasing, so that we can address whatever has been blocked, or whatever has been has blocked our heart space, so that now we can have access to the higher. Not to go to the higher, but so that the higher can be fully integrated with the lower. That's, to me, what it's the future of humanity. If you really want to see the collective, if you really want to see our collective world flourish, prosper, and we have to integrate and merge both sides of who we are into the middle point, which is the heart space, and live a life from the heart center, which is the Christ consciousness. And if you remember what I said in some of my past videos, the heart space is directly connected to the point of singularity, directly connected to the universal consciousness, or God, or the point of creation, the point of oneness. Whereas the higher is connected to the higher mind, and the lower is connected to the lower mind. And the key here is to have the higher mind, because the higher mind cannot express itself in this world without the lower. The higher vibrates at a frequency that is much higher than what we vibrate in this reality. So the only way for the higher mind to express itself in this realm is to use the lower mind and be fully expressed through the lower mind, so that the divine can be expressed in this reality. That's why the higher needs the lower to be expressed. And it can only do that when the heart is open, when the heart space is fully open and fully, bridging, and we have this union between the higher and the lower, the earth and the sky, and the masculine and the feminine. So that's what I wanted to say about technology. Again, technology to me is not something bad or something good in itself. Technology is just a tool. AI is just a tool. And the problem is not AI per se. The problem is how we have been living in an imbalanced way as a collective. And then one side of the coin has been really the one driving it, instead of being in a neutral point, and integrated both sides so that we can live a balanced way, and we can use technology in a balanced way, in a neutral way, so that, again, technology can be an expression of our divine nature. If this content resonates with you, if this video resonates with you, smash the like button. It will always help with the algorithm. Send me or write a little comment of encouragement, or if you have any questions, or if you have anything you want me to share in the future, I would love to hear from you. Or if you want to share your perspective about technology and AI, what do you think about it? I would love to read you, and I would love to hear your perspective as well. I left in the description down below my the link for my book, The Science of Breaking Free, where I really dive deep into science, and I combine and I integrate, and again, science, which is a masculine side, and I integrate it with esoteric teaching, which is a feminine side, to give you a more neutral, more full picture of who you are. So if this is something that you're interested in, just check it out. It's on Amazon. I also left down below in the comment section my link for my website, as well as my services, my transformation services, or if you want to work with me, if you want to contact me directly, just check those links out. Subscribe to my channel if you like the content and you want to be informed when my next video will be released. And for now, I'll see you in the next one.